The views and opinions expressed on this program do not reflect the company, owners, management, staff, clients, or partners.
It's Tuesday, the 11th day of October, 2022. Welcome to the Daily Hour, brought to you by Medical House, One Communications, and Lindos. I'm Jamal Hartman, she's Sencha Durham, and Maya Palacio will be with us in a bit to bring you the latest in her news break, brought to you by People's Pharmacy. Sencha, I saw that your son had the weekend of all weekends. Talk to us.
That's every weekend.
I'm saying mommy of the year. I was like, man, I mean.
You know what? That is every weekend. But yesterday I had a minute and I was like, you know what? Let's do a recap of our weekend. And then I showed it to him in the afternoon and his face lit up. I think it was a part of me helping him to understand all that we do during the weekend, so that maybe about 4 hours he may have like rest time, chill time. There was no chill in this entire weekend.
Nah, he ain't easing you up, man. He ain't easing you up. He's on his thing. You know, I'm gonna be honest. Like I'm weird about gumbays. Like I just love something about the beat, right? I just could listen to gumbays all day. Like I have about 18 minutes of Gumbe music on my phone that sometimes that's what I listen to during my jogs if I'm not watching one of my shows on YouTube.
That's
and
interesting.
yeah, it's been like that for years. And yeah. I got a little skill. But so no, you sent me this video yesterday, and I'm not lying. Until I realized, just go on Instagram and check H&H, see if they put up anything. I was watching your video over and over and over yesterday, and then I went on their Instagram and I'm just tuned in, and they had like videos about 6 minutes long, and I'm just like, and you know, if you know me, I'm hard of hearing, so my volume's up loud in my ear, and thankfully there weren't anyone in the office close to me yesterday, because they must have been like, what is this guy's listening to?
Noise.
As H&H call it, organized noise, right? But no, I honestly, I love it, and I appreciate, you sharing that footage, and people asking me, oh, can you send me that video? So, you know me, I don't show people's footage without, hey, Sandra, people ask me, yeah, it's okay. But no, thank you for capturing it.
I must say, the Gumbe Festival, they hadn't had it in 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And it was nice to have it back. I can say Gumbe Evolution, their mask and their hatchets, the detail, the cut, amazing. Gumbe Warriors, when I tell you they dance hard. H&H, I love that they separated the kids. So they let the kids start off like on their own. It's like, got this. Let's see what you can do. And then the OGs of the group, they kind of came in after, and it gave me goosebumps. I'm like, oh my God. And Maddox said to me, was like, Mommy, that was my favorite part. It was, so shout out to all the Gumbes. I want to say it was 5 troops, so I'm missing maybe Warwick. And there's one more. I hate when I do that. Sorry, I've missed the group. But
so real quickly, does Mama Sencha know how to dance Gumbes?
I don't know how to dance Gumbes, but I'm learning. Because obviously Maddox and I practice when we're in the house. And so I've learned, Maddox has taught me masquerade, fast dance. I never knew it was like names to the steps, and yeah, so I'm getting there.
Yeah. Samcat Places, don't forget Places.
Yes, it was their 65th anniversary this year, or was it last year?
You got it. I think it's this year, yeah. Sam Cat Plays knows how to do a little drum. You weren't on the drums, Sam Cat Plays? Because, we've got footage of you. We know what's up. We know what's up. All right. Greetings, everyone, and thanks for making us part of your daily routine. A good one today as we welcome former Premier of Bermuda, the Honorable Michael Dunkley, on the show to discuss a variety of things. The daily players will remember when, so a bit of history for all of us, not just Sancha.
Thank you.
Also, big thank you to everyone who continues to support us. Thank you to those who have signed up and joined our membership on YouTube. Please note that we'd love for you to sign up for membership as well. Just hit the join button to become an official member of our channel. There are 3 levels with various benefits and perks, so we look forward to welcoming you aboard. Also, like last week, when you comment, you can actually make a donation as low as $2. So if you want to support the work that we do, it is appreciated financially as well. All righty. You know what time it is.
Question of the morning.
No. You said it.
Oh my goodness.
Maya, do you want to get a laugh in?
Maya
doesn't want to. Okay, she don't want to.
Maya, please join me. Don't come on.
Are you ready? Here we go. All right, here's your morning laugh, folks. Here's your wake me up. What part of a fish weighs the most?
The scales.
You go, Maya.
You got it. All right, there we go.
Yeah, big ups Noah's Ark. Only because I work at a pet store.
I literally chose an animal related one because of the conversation we were having before we came on air. I was like, all right, that's an easy one. Scales, fish. All right. Thank you, Maya. I'm glad I made you smile.
Yeah, see, I'm Aries. I'm happy when I win.
But are you thinking of like really taking this to, like, next time you come to Bermuda, you gonna stand on stage at a comedy show or something?
Hell no.
Okay.
Hell no. You think, look, if there's one thing I'm real about, I would have never went to audition for American Idol if I really didn't believe in my singing ability. If I was just doing fun. I am no William Hung of comedians. Trust me. Don't worry about that. No.
As long as we're clear.
Yeah. I'm not going to do that because y'all attached to me. You and Maya and Sherry, I'm not going to embarrass you guys like that. I'm not going to do that to you because it'll look bad on you, not just me.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm looking out for you. Anyway, folks, we've got a question of the morning, and it's an interesting one. Don't forget, we have former Premier Michael Dunkley coming up. But a question of the morning, basically, every day you read the news or you look at social media posts, there are people struggling. Just last week, cousin Miss Thang had tagged me in something on Twitter that, for me, it hurt so much that I couldn't respond. I just read the back and forth. Basically, she's trying to get assistance for someone who is having trouble with housing, right? And it's, Miss Thang, that's her thing. Like that's her heart. She is that person.
Yes.
And it got me thinking, and unfortunately, I didn't have a conversation with Sancha about this prior, so trust me, this conversation's all taking place here right now. But it got me thinking, like, what, as a, you have when I was in the Bermuda Regiment, it always said, you're only as strong as the weakest link in your team, right? And I think that about community, right? We're only as strong as the most vulnerable in our community. That's whether we believe it or not, especially a small community like Bermuda. So the question of the morning, what advice would you give to someone struggling to make ends meet right now? What advice would you give someone struggling to make ends meet right now? That's your question this morning.
And Jamal, I don't have an answer. I do not have an answer. I get very concerned. And as I said, like, this is such a loaded question. It's so many different directions you go with it. I get so concerned that, especially single parents, you take a second job to try to make ends meet, and you're leaving these kids home alone if you're not in a structure of, and a lot of people are living in multifamily households in order to make ends meet. But if you don't have that support, then the kids are on their own. And I had a situation this weekend where I saw where it was like lots of single mothers trying to do better for their kids. And the conversation was that they are taking second jobs, and it was things that they were finding out about their kids that they were shocked about, like the cursing, the misbehaving, and it's crushing to them, right? And obviously, I'm sure in that moment they felt like they needed to be there more for their kid. But then how can you when rent for a one-bedroom place or a studio, I saw just the other day, it's like $2,500. Or, two bedrooms, we're talking about 3,000. Like, it's not making sense. You go to the grocery store, and I mean, what I spend alone in groceries, I'm just like, I don't know people that have 3 and 4 kids.
Yeah.
How do they maintain, I don't know the answer to this. I truly do not. And if the audience has idea, like, school me.
Yeah, I'm with you, Sancha. I read so many things on social media. I read in the news, and I don't have the answers. It's so easy to try to give other people advice when you're really not in their shoes. Like if they're asking, hey, I'm looking for ways to buy groceries. Like, what do you say? Like it's tough, and you can't. And again, this is not making excuses necessarily for government, but we had a conversation with Cordell Riley recently from the Commission on Wages, I guess, Living Wage Commission, and he spoke about setting a minimum wage as a way out of it. But my question that I still think is unanswered is, how is minimum wage effective without price controls? And I am not advocating for price controls at all. Let me be clear. I don't think, I say that and people think, oh, no, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that I have not been told how it works. Like, so how does that really help someone who's struggling if the price is just going to be reflected in whatever, if the chicken sandwich is $1 at paying the staff $5 an hour, and now you got to put it up to $3, the chicken sandwich is now $2.25. Like, I mean, you got what I'm saying? So I honestly don't know the answer to this. And I think this is a conversation that hopefully we can head towards some solutions in it,
Yeah. And it's even making mindful decisions. I know this may be TMI, but I would have loved to have given Maddox a brother or sister, but I know I can't afford that.
Yeah.
I know that living in Bermuda, I cannot afford another kid. And it's like, in order for me to make ends meet, sorry, Maddox, just you and I, buddy.
You make another valid point, because believe it or not, folks, it's not just people with children who are struggling. There are career people who don't have any children, any family, like responsibilities per se, that they're finding it tough. They're finding it hard. And some people may say, well, they don't have any children. Keep in mind, if they're single and they can be 45, 50 years old, and they've been working all their life, keep in mind that it's still a one-income household.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? A one-income household could be struggling, and we don't know what student loans they may still have, what bills they may incur from maybe death or family situations. At the end of the day, we have a problem where people are struggling. But audience, over to you. What advice would you give to someone struggling to make ends meet right now? One of the things that always comes up, Sancha, is people saying, oh, well, cut back, right? That to me is so 1990. You know what I'm saying? And the reason I say that is, cut back on what these days? Because not many people have cable anymore. Not many people have a landline anymore. Now, are you saying cut back on a cell phone? Well, when you think about cell phones, that's pretty much people's only way to connect with, let's say, a job opportunity, or like
if you're working Like there should be luxuries in life that you shouldn't have to say to yourself, I need to cut back. If I'm working hard, I want to live comfortably. Like how do we live comfortably and make ends meet with the amount of work? Like I don't want to cut back. I don't. I want to live. That we're here to live.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like at the end of the day, you have people that will say, oh, well, don't you take 2 trips a year, cut back? But again, people should be able to enjoy life. And then there's the people who will say, well, you can't have it both ways. Folks, it's a loaded question. It's a tough one. But the reason it's loaded is because this show is made up of a diverse group of people with different perspectives. And maybe somewhere in between, there's solutions and advice that we can give. So what advice would you give to someone struggling to make ends meet right now? Let's go to the audience. We've got Sean Smith and Sam for you, Sandra.
Sean Smith says that's a really stuffed question because you don't have a concrete solution for them. What could you say? That's exactly how I feel. Sandra, your statement is valid. I really would like to give my son a sibling, but I just cannot afford to make a pretty decent salary. And that's true. I all the time, Maddox begs for a sibling. I'm just like, and my son I chose to put my son in private school at this point. I can't put 2 kids in private school.
Yeah. But what she said at the end, and I make a pretty decent salary. Now, again, I don't know what pretty decent is in Bermuda standards. Is it 80 and above? Is it 100 and above? That's neither here nor there, I think, in this respect. Someone who says they make a decent salary cannot afford to do something that they would like to do. That's tough.
Yeah.
Angeline Butler says, maybe obtain counsel from people who have some financial sense, like a relative who knows the struggle but has kept their head above water. I like this because remember what we've spoken about on this show before, how our uncles and aunts, they had those groups. What were they called?
Club hands.
Club hands. But it's that African name for them, the club hands, where somebody says it in the audience often, but the club hands, like our club hands, the way out of this, because remember, what was it? Collective or cooperative economics? Like, do we trust each other to do that kind of stuff? Do we say, okay, Larry, Phil, Maya, Sanchez, Sherry, me? Do we say, look, hey, Sanchez trying to buy a house, right? All of us put in 500, help her get what she needs to get that loan. All right, next person, you need this. Do we trust one another enough to help each other out in today's day and age? I think that's what it comes down to.
I'm not sure we do anymore. I think back in the day, we were a little more trusting because we had to lean on each other, right? Especially as in the Black community, we had to lean on each other in order to make it or to strive to do better. I'm not sure we're as trusting as we used to. I think a lot of us have that crab in a barrel mentality nowadays, and it's like, oh, I don't want to see that person get more than me. Nope, can't help you. I see a lot more of that. The community that we used to have, how do we get that back?
Yeah. Sean DeShield says, our valued member, Sean DeShield says, migrate to England for better educational opportunities, free healthcare, subsidies for children, in many cases, about better quality of life. Well, I mean, many people are taking that up. Just want to send a big shout out to Beverly Hollis, Mark Arthur C. Phillips, Shawnette Bell, Sean DeShields, and Raquel Wainwright, members of, well, our YouTube channel. We appreciate you. We definitely appreciate you guys joining and signing up, and encourage the rest of the audience, especially those who are commenting and over on YouTube tuned in. Please join us as we take you along a journey of community conversations and action on the daily hour. Let's bring Maya into the conversation, see what she has to say on this topic. It's an interesting one, and I think it's loaded, but I'm always interested to see how her perspective differs, especially maybe she's had these conversations with those who follow media. Maya, let's bring her in.
Good morning, everyone. This is the Daily Hour Newsbreak brought to you by People's Pharmacy.
All right. Good morning, Maya, and talk to us. I don't know how young people are doing these days in Bermuda. How they operate. The club hands or susu. Yes, that's it right there.
Well,
what's
I can say that I probably haven't gone into too much detail on my Media My page and talking about to my close friends and to my family. Every one of my cousins and or close friends that I have, I'm really trying to think like what they do for work, and a lot of them have either 2 or more jobs. Like that's where we're at right now, and a lot of us are doing like entrepreneur thing or doing a full-time thing as well, and still complaining and stressing about money all the time. So that's kind of where we are because. Yeah, and I think the only reason why we could do that right now is because we kind of had the energy to. I mean, myself, but yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, it is. It is. My hope is that regardless, we're hoping to have someone on this show in the next couple weeks to speak about investing and finances and so on. We want to have more of those conversations. We think it's important. And look, I have an MBA. I started business at every level of university, but even I haven't been the best with budgeting. I haven't. Luckily I've always had family support, and we understand everyone doesn't have that support. My mother, ensured my sister and I only had loans that we'd be able to pay off within like a couple years after school, where that's not normal for a lot of people. So, it depends on a lot of that too. I mean, what kind of family structure or friends or education could play a role. I think there are ways to do it, but I'll be honest, I don't like to see people struggling. I don't. New York would do two things. It'd either break you or make you immune to it.
Yeah.
And I, for one, living in New York City for 4 or 5 years, just could not become immune to it because of the tight-knit community that I grew up in. Anyway, go ahead.
Also, just think quickly, maybe we should say bringing finance into schools earlier, teaching budgeting earlier in schools.
Yep.
I didn't learn it in school. It's something that when I came. So I think maybe at a younger age, introducing it may be helpful.
Yeah. I would say like for me, I mean, I was raised by a single parent. It was just my mom raising 3 girls. I was the youngest. And we definitely learned how to scrape by, thrifting. So I'm still thrifting to this day. I love thrifting though because of just something that I grew up with. I honestly didn't even really know about buying new clothes when I was younger because we always thrifted and I always got hand-me-downs. So it was never really a thing to get new stuff. So learning how to manage your money though is so important because when I finally did start to get my own money, I was still kind of a penny pincher, but now I'm just I understand what my mama said when she said there's food at home because it's really expensive out there. But 2 things before I get to the news. One being that at the reform, they were talking about tax reform. A lady did mention that she had spoken to somebody who actually helped with her finances at the bank that she is with. And it honestly really did help her because at first she really thought that she could just not save at all. And she found that talking to someone within the bank was super helpful. Now she is able to at least save something now that she's more strategic. And the second being that financial assistance is very, I would say, controversial. I have people in my family who someone might be on it, and it's just once you pass a cost of making X amount of money, they take it away from you immediately. And it's so hard to find that balance because you can't just live on it, because you're not really getting for a farther by. But then if you get a job, and if you make too much, now they take it away, but it's still not enough to pay all your bills. So it's a toss up. It really is. So hopefully we go more in depth with that again.
Indeed. Much more to talk on that. What you got in the news for us, Maya?
So in the news today, the Ministry of Home Affairs fully supports the regulatory authority's recent decision that announced that effective October 1st, the fuel adjustment rate has been reduced by just over 16%. The Minister, Walter Rubin, said this lower rate will be in effect throughout December 31st, 2022.
Big news. Appreciate it. On behalf of the general public, we say appreciate it. What else you got for us?
Next on the list, I'm sure everyone's still in that political headspace right now. So a special airing of Dr. Ewart F. Brown's Truth Be Told will be presented on Thursday at 7 p.m. at the Bermuda Underwater Exploration Institute. There are limited seats available and tickets can only be purchased tomorrow. Wednesday at the BUEI lobby, and the tickets are $10, and all the proceeds will go to the Mirrors program.
No disrespect to Dr. Brown, that's former premier. I'm just not quite sure what's left to say. I mean, I read the book. I've had conversations. You've been on this show. I'm not paying $10 to see something. That's just me, but I'm just not sure. If anyone goes to see it, let me know what's different from what's been said before. What else you got for us, Maya?
Next, I have for you guys that my interview with MP challenger Curtis Dickinson will be released today, right after the show. And here's a quick little promo that I have for you guys to see.
Morning, everyone. Okay,
morning.
So we all know the gist. It's going to be 21 questions.
My platform is about education first, because I don't like to talk on things unless everyone kind of majority knows what's going on. So at the start of this conversation, I actually want to ask about, what is the delegate?
In the PLP, the person who is elected as party leader when the PLP has the majority in the House of Assembly becomes the premier.
And obviously people are trying to pin you guys against each other, but can I ask, what is your personal relationship with David Bright?
What song can you sing word for word?
I can give you an answer to that as long as I don't have to sing the song. So I see the value in immigration. I also see the value from an economic perspective, getting people employed and working. But it has to be a system where it's fair to the people who were born in the country. We don't want to have a situation where Bermudians continue to feel disenfranchised.
So what's the plan? What happens if, let's say, she wins for deputy and you don't win for leader? How did you vote in the case of same-sex marriage?
In the House of Assembly or in the referendum that was had?
Let's say both. What's your promise that you want to make to the people of Bermuda?
Woo!
I'm excited.
Oh, yes. All right, hold on. Where can we watch it?
Okay, it's going to be on my YouTube channel. So the entire thing is about 59 minutes long. It's quite long, but honestly, it was very entertaining. I actually watched it 3 times myself. That walk was, I guess the whole walk would have been like an hour, because we started at one location, went all the way around up, and then back to that same location. That's where we ended. So we did stop along the way, definitely. In some places that had more light, but it was, I would say, an hour long.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it. So, Maya, make sure you share the link in the comments where people can go to subscribe to Media Maya's YouTube channel, folks. I'm looking forward to it. I think he looked very relaxed as per when he was in studio with us. It looked like a different conversation. So I'm looking forward to it. And thank you for doing that, Maya. What else you got for us in the news?
Last thing I have for the news right now, I know we're going to bring on the Honorable Michael Dunkley. So I put out this video that I did with him about 2 years ago now, before on election day of October 1st, 2020. And we're just talking about debates. And I'm curious to know in this conversation that you guys have with him, whether or not he still agrees with what he said 2 years ago, that each constituency members who are running for the election should actually be debating each other. So that's the same.
How did you feel about the youth debate? Did you tune into that?
Of course, I watch everything. I thought it was pretty good.
Do you wish it was an actual debate, though?
Oh, of course. We have to remember that in the United States, you're voting for a president, and in Bermuda, you're not voting for the top dog. You're voting for a constituency MP. So, I think it would be good to have a couple of small debates within constituencies, because that's what really matters. But I applaud the Youth Connect for what they did. I think for our young people to get involved, it's important, because they need to learn about politics. They need to have a say in politics, because we need to get more people involved.
Okay, what's your biggest, your biggest point that you kind of want to make or work on if you were to be reelected?
I think a couple of things I'd like to wind in is that, as a community, when tough times come, we work together. Elections are divisive, so we need to get back and work together to improve our island home again. There are many of us who are struggling out there. We need to devote our attention to rebuilding our economy and helping those families in need.
So, hold on. Honorable Michael Dunkley said that he thinks there should be debates in every constituency.
Yeah, that would be the more prominent thing to do, because again, we're voting for our constituency MPs. We're not voting for the leader of Bermuda.
Be nice, Jamal. Be nice. Okay. Be nice. I think it actually isn't a bad idea and would expose the stupidity that we see on the ballot. That's the nicest way I could have said that. I'm sorry. What else you got for us, Maya?
that's it for the day. I'm just going to tell you guys the weather. So it's going to be a cloudy start, a few rainy showers, and obviously more thunder, which is, I was very unexpected to see all this thunder that's happening over the last few days. But, everyone just be safe out there on the roads, and you got a high of 79 degrees Fahrenheit.
All righty, Sancha, what you got days of the year? Give us something good.
Today is National Face Your Fears Day.
Uh-oh.
Don't let your fears hold you back. Use Face Your Fears Day to confront those things that keep you from achieving your goals and free yourself from them. Take a moment to consider what your life may be like if you conquered some of your greatest fears. What would you do differently? National Face Your Fears Day gives you the chance to stand up to your fears, overcome them, and seize the day. What are you afraid of, Jamal?
Honestly, I don't think it's afraid, and it's nothing crazy like eating bugs or nothing. I think a fear that people like myself have is really just going out on my own and doing my thing rather than working for someone else. And I think it's not necessarily a fear. It's more of like a challenge I've yet to accept. Yeah. Maybe this is the day.
Are you afraid of something, Maya?
Yes, but I'm going to keep that to myself.
Why? Come on. I shared mine publicly.
Have a beautiful day, everybody.
Wow. All right. We're going to gather in the group, folks. We got Sancha, what's your fear?
I don't really have a fear. I fear little creatures, but I don't have like a
creatures. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank God I'm taller than her. Hey, folks, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with the Honorable Michael Dunkley. Do not miss this conversation. It's going to be a good one.
People's ACW, located at King Edward VII Memorial Hospital, carries over-the-counter medicines, toys, cards, and even toiletries. Our knowledgeable staff are there whether you're at emergency, visiting family, or a member of BHB staff, to show you our best even when you're feeling your worst. People's ACW, we're here for you.
Hi, I'm Karen, a nurse at the old folks home. These long hours used to kill my feet until my hairdresser told me about a great place to buy a pair of clogs. Medical House. Finally, relief. They also carry uniforms in bright, bold colors. And not to mention the support stockings.
Karen, Miss Soltis bet her bet again.
Oh gosh, these days, I need all the support I can get.
Medical House has relocated next to the Dandytown Field, number 6 Bakery Lane, Pembroke.
Welcome to the new bulk store, Lindo's Next Level. Wake up in the morning with enough coffee to keep you running throughout the entire day. Your pet at home deserves the best. Stock up on dog food to keep your puppy happy. Need a quick, tasty lunch at home? Your chicken nuggets will be jumping right out of the freezer. What's a movie night without popcorn? You can never have too much. Lindo's Next Level. Why go anyplace else?
All right, welcome back to the big show. Sancha Durham, I'm Jamal Hartman. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by Medical House, One Communications, Lindo's, and People's Pharmacy. Folks, don't forget to sign up for membership. Just hit the join button to become an official member of our channel. There are 3 levels with various benefits and perks. We look forward to welcoming you aboard, like Sean, Shawnette, Mark, Beverly, and Raquel. Also, if you can, please make some donations. As low as $2, you can donate to the show. Just show us that our work is appreciated and valued by you. That said, let's bring in our guest for the day. We've got the Honorable Michael Dunkley, former Premier of Bermuda. Good morning, sir. And let me get the order. Hold on. The crowd's got to get ready to welcome you. Oops, wrong one. Hold up. We've got to get the crowd ready. Hold on. There we go. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show.
Sounded like Monday Night Football last night. Good morning, everybody.
This is true. Morning. Well, first of all, thank you for doing this. We appreciate you trusting us.
I'm still laughing because you tried to be polite.
Yeah, it's tough these days, man. It's tough. It's not easy. But let's start with that. Maya had some video of you from 2020, and you had suggested, based on that video, that constituencies should debate. Do you still stand by that? And I guess the argument from some people would be cost, but do you think it's something that should be done and can be done?
Well, it doesn't have to be costly. And yes, I definitely still stand by that. You hit the nail right in the head in what you said. The fact of the matter is that too often people just vote party, or they vote because they think that person is somebody that's cool, or somebody told them to vote for them. And it's about getting the best people elected to make those decisions that are important for us. Too often, people just go in and vote, have no clue what they're voting for, and it doesn't put us in good position. So I think that every candidate needs to be put under the microscope so people can make the best decisions, and then it's up to you to decide what you want to do.
Interesting. Audience, let us know, what are your thoughts? Do you think that every constituency should have to debate? I think it would be worth it. Let's talk about the country. Bermuda, it's a lot going on right now. What are your thoughts about the state of the country at present?
Well, obviously, I'm not saying anything earth-shattering when I say that we're in a very difficult position. You go back and look that before COVID, the economy was in a weak position. And then with 2 years of COVID, certainly everything was just closed down for long periods of time. And now as we open up, we're paying for the challenges that we created by locking everything down. And then we have the most unfortunate war in Ukraine that's dragged on now for months and doesn't look like it's going to end anytime soon. That's driven commodity market crazy, and oils, certainly at high levels that we haven't seen before. Guys, I remember probably a couple of months into COVID, early one day I was working out and I was watching Bloomberg, and they were talking about the price of oil had dropped below $40 a barrel. And now here we are, the price of oil has been north of $80 for some months. And with OPEC countries talking about limiting the supply by a further 2 million barrels a day, we might see prices go back to 100 again. So our economy is in a very difficult position. And, I go back to what Maya also said, we discussed in the interview before the 2020 election, is there's two things that are important. We've got to stop talking about working together and actually work together. And secondly, we really have to be serious about rebuilding, because in 2020, when I said that we need to rebuild, I had no idea that the impact of COVID would be as significant, and that the challenges by the Ukraine war, which wasn't even, kicked off at that point in time, would impact the whole world as a hand. So, it's up to us in Bermuda. We have to work together to rebuild this country quickly, because people are struggling, and that struggle is going to continue until we make better decisions to get people in that position.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Sancha?
Good. So people would argue that the reason that the PLP government is able to operate in the manner in which they do at the moment is because there's no strong opposition to challenge them. What would you say to that statement?
Well, I would say yes and no. Yes, because they have a massive majority. With 30 seats in the House of Assembly, there's only 6 members of the opposition. So basically, they can do what they want to do. And the opposition can have their say, but at the end of the day, the government's going to have their way. But I also say no, because if you take a look at important issues of the day over the past couple of months, the opposition has been very vocal about these issues, and we've stood strong and spoken about many of these issues as we go along. And so, it's up to the people to get involved in a democratic process. It's never good for one party to have a massive majority, because then quite often the people are not listened to. And secondly, it's easy for a government because they can do what they want, and the criticism about their policies is drowned out because they have a massive majority. So don't worry about the next vote. And so, look, I believe that, yes, the opposition can do better. We can always do better. But I believe the opposition has been very strong on issues. And one of the issues that we'll probably talk about later today is arbitrage. We called it out 4 years ago.
Yeah.
4 years ago, we called out that issue, we laid it out, and I can go down the road on a number of issues we've talked about. We've been very strong about healthcare reform. We've been very strong about our financial position. We've been very strong about violence and road safety. I understand where people are coming from. And a lot of that is out of frustration because the political process is not working well for them. A lot of people don't believe that they're getting good representation and they're seeing actions that make their lives better. So I fully understand the concerns that people have. And that's one of the reasons why myself and many other politicians are on the doorstep a lot, because I want to stay connected to people to understand really how they feel so I can work for them better.
Well, that segues into my next question. What do you think the OBA needs to do to gain the trust of the people?
That's another excellent question in itself. And I'll go back to what I just said. Politicians need to be on the doorstep. They need to be in the community. They need to build relationships. They need to get themselves known. And they also need to know the people that they're representing, because, I remember the first time I walked out on a doorstep. I was knocking. I was cold in my call. I really didn't understand the proper way to build relationships with people, and I didn't know the people, and so it was more difficult for me to build up those relationships. But once I got comfortable in being out on the doorstep and built those relationships, my constituency is like my family. I mean, Smith North to me now is family. When something happens in Smith North that's good, I feel good about it. When something goes down that's bad, it really hurts me. I'm in that constituency every day when I'm on the island and building those relationships. So now what happens? People reach out to me. They send me a WhatsApp, or they give me a call, or they even come around my workplace to talk about those issues. So as politicians, we need to do better at building relationships, because then people will reach out to you and tell you what's on their mind. And that's critically important for us to serve better.
Awesome. So, what are some of your major concerns with the economy and the direction that the government is heading towards? And what would be some of your solutions?
Okay, well, I've already covered some of the challenges in the general conversations that we've had, but obviously, let me start the answer this way, is that we know the economy is in a very difficult position. And it's going to stay that way for longer than we expect because of the impact of COVID. And I think a lot of people are questioning now how the world could have been closed down for so long, and how the leaders of the world could have thought that they could just open it up and not have the significant problems we have all over the world. Bermuda, we have our own problems, which are real and they're very concerning. But if you look at even some of the most well-developed countries, look what's going on in the UK, look at the challenges that they're facing. So, we need to get our economy opened up again and get money flowing in our economy. One of the real concerns that I have with the PLP is certainly the PLP regime is very good at the talk, but in the delivery, there is a certain slowness that is real concerning about it. Look, the two things that drive our economy: international business, and we've been very fortunate through COVID, they've done quite well, and tourism. Now we need to rebuild tourism again, but look at the projects that PLP has taken on. They've been very slow to get off the mark. There've been many promises about GenCom, and we still don't know what's going on with Southern Princess project. The Bermuda Beach project has been deadlines that have come and gone. And tourism is critical for us in Bermuda, because without the airlift coming into the island, it makes it difficult for visitors to come to the island, and it makes it very difficult for Bermudians to travel when they need to travel, whether it's for vacation, whether it's for medical, or whether it's for schooling. And so we need to make things happen at a much quicker pace, stop talking about it, and rebuild our economy. The third thing about rebuilding the economy is to build confidence again in Bermuda, because now that the pandemic is waning and many countries believe that the pandemic has ended, there's a lot of pent up money that will go toward investing. We in Bermuda need to attract those dollars to our shores to help turn our country around. And we can do that if there is confidence in what Bermuda has to offer. And I don't think with the current face that this government's putting out, that confidence in Bermuda is high right now, especially when you see things like arbitrage happening, That is a dark shadow on Bermuda that we could have avoided if we had just listened and if we had watched very closely the applications by people such as those.
So let's talk about arbitrate, being that you just mentioned it. Recently, the Securities and Exchange Commission filed charges against arbitrate in perpetrating an alleged scheme involving a crypto asset called Dignity or
Yep.
DIG. Back in 2018, you challenged Premier Burt in the House of Assembly regarding the credibility of arbitrate. Can you explain to our audience what your concerns were and why they're still important 4 years later?
Well, they're still important 4 years later because I hate to say it, but what was said actually has become the reality now that the SEC has filed charges. When arbitrate first came on the scene, it didn't take me and colleagues long to realize that it was an outright scam. There was nothing behind the program that they offered that led me to believe it had any substance. And basically, the SEC has clearly stated it was a simple, pump and dump scheme that they're using their token Dignity or DIG, as it was called. They just bought people into it, sold some DIG, made the money, spent the money, and continued to try to pump it. When the scheme started to lose some of its legs, because people had doubt about it, then they came out with all these absurd promotions, such as they would donate money to the Bermuda government. They had billions of dollars worth of gold bullion. You all remember that. That was in an effort to get people to get back into it. And I believe that it was one of the worst decisions that any minister of finance or premier at the time could make when it was signed off that arbitrate could buy Victoria Hall. It had to be signed off by the Ministry of Finance for an overseas entity to buy Bermudian property, and it was signed off at that time by David Burt. And you will recall in the House of Assembly, when questioned and challenged on it by the opposition, they said that due diligence had been done, even using the Interpol access to the information. Clearly, that couldn't have been the case, because I believe that funds raised from that DIG coupon, or whatever you want to call it, was used to buy Victoria Hall. And so all of those investors, so to say, I have to be polite on this, but all of those people who put their money in lost their money when they bought real estate with no foundation behind it. And anybody who had looked at it strategically would have seen it was a bad decision. So I don't know who the premier took advice from. And what really bothered me, when myself and colleagues spoke in Parliament, we were heckled and questioned by members on government benches that we were doing wrong for Bermuda by questioning people who wanted to invest in Bermuda. We were trying to keep these guys out. I would never, and my colleagues would never get in the way of progress for Bermuda. But here we're trying to keep them out, and we got heckled and we got catcalled, and now they're in by members such as Zane De Silva. Wayne Keynes, I believe, was a minister at that time, and the premier himself, and the list goes on. It's totally unacceptable. And now we have to be pulled through the swamp as the SEC investigates these charges, and a case will have to be answered. It just didn't have to be that way. If the government had listened to the opposition, and let's face it, what people might think about some members of the opposition personally doesn't matter, but they're members of the opposition who have a great deal of experience in many areas and should be listened to. If we were listened to, this would not have happened. These type of schemes would not take place. Now, Sancho, I don't want people to get confused, because in the beginning with fintech, the opposition always said, we support fintech, but let's be very careful about Bitcoin and some of these schemes which have very little foundation to them. And the world has supported that type of concern going forward. We've seen many of these schemes fall afoul, and now, unfortunately, the SEC is got Bermuda in its spotlights, and it didn't have to be that way.
So what's your take on Mr. Dickinson challenging Premier Burt for leadership? Do you think it's a good move for their party, and most importantly for our country? And also, do you think that Mr. Dickinson is equipped for this role?
Well, I have always been involved in politics and taken the approach that I stay out of other people's politics. And there are a number of reasons why I do that. The main reason is that I'm not a member of the PLP, so I don't think that I should be commenting on their internal politics. But what I will say, guys, is that I think that anytime people get involved in politics and challenged for positions, I think it's healthy for the process because it brings more scrutiny, it brings more attention to it, and people get to know the politicians better. So the PLP will sort out their leadership battles. But what is critical in all of this is that after October 20th, no matter what happens, we need to get back to business. Unfortunately, quite often when parties have leadership issues or when they have challenges within, and that's what the PLP are having at the present time, if you're the government, it takes away a lot of focus from doing the work of the people. And I can't imagine that in this case, it's any different. We need to get the focus on doing the work for the people because, mercy sakes, we have real challenges in our community with a number of people are struggling, and they're not going to disappear overnight. They're going to exacerbate and continue to grow unless we make decisions to help people deal with the challenges such as the cost of living, the weak economy, the lack of opportunity for Bermudians, the cost of healthcare, not only for those who can afford it, but for our seniors and those who don't have work. And then, the elephant in the room that many people won't talk about is we still need to make our government more efficient and more streamlined. And that's a critical plank in Bermuda doing better as we go forward.
I just want to go back to arbitrate. And folks, if you have any questions or comments for Mr. Dunkley, you can send them through. We'll get through as many as possible. But I remember, because I used to listen to the host back then, and it was almost bullish in 30 verse 6. Well, it wasn't 30 verse 6 back then, but when it first started being talked about, but it still seemed like that majority. But that said, I remember some of the things that were being said by the government was that, you're criticizing workers, like people at the Bermuda Monetary Authority and so on. If I remember correctly, that was their argument. Like, this is not just the government doing this; they're being advised by professionals in that space. When things like that are said, though, is that fair game, or do you feel like, oh no, they're trying to? And the argument I use, and I said it yesterday, is, and it happens from both sides. When things go great, right? Like, let's use crime. When crime is down and so on, the government loves to take credit, regardless of who's the government of the day. When things get out of hand, crime's the police are the responsibility of the governor. You get me? So is it fair game to say, when we're arguing about something like arbitrate, a company that's been registered to Bermuda, well, it's not the government per se, because the Bermuda Monetary Authority has to sign off on it? Is that realistic? Is that real?
No, I don't think so, because I've been on both sides. I've been the opposition and then I've been in government. So I understand that when you go to the House of Assembly, you're doing the people's business. And so, yes, in every subject you talk about, there are people within government departments who are responsible for enacting the policy and dealing with projects in front of them. So when I stand as a member of parliament and speak, I'm not criticizing people. I am criticizing how we got to that place and what we need to do to change. Just for example, not too long ago, we took, and I think I spoke in the House of Assembly about it, I said that the inflation statistics that were coming out were pure rubbish. How could our inflation rate be 3.5% or 4%, whatever it was at the time, when the US and the UK were double that? It cannot be. And then Minister Haywood, with all due respect, said, well, I'm criticizing the people in the stats department. No, I'm not. I'm saying that if our rate is this, and everyone who has any inkling of understanding about how inflation is measured knows it's wrong, why don't we fix it? Because if you're operating with numbers that are not accurate, you're going to make poor decisions. You're going to compound our problems. So when I spoke about arbitrate, I wasn't criticizing the BMA, because Jamal, remember at the time, they had not been issued a license. What I was criticizing was the Minister of Finance, who I believe was David Byrd at the time, gave them a license to purchase property. That was a direct concern that I had addressed to the Minister of Finance. That license should have never been signed off under that section, which I can't recall right now, under the Act.
Okay, gotcha.
So, where do you see Bermuda in the next 5 years if the current premier remains in leadership?
Wow, that's about as heavy as a question as the earlier question that you had asked before I came on the show. I really can't answer to that because I think that it's very clear in politics in our system that there's collective responsibility. That collective responsibility is with the cabinet and all the members of the ruling party, whether they sit in parliament or in the upper house in the Senate. And I am very concerned about our future under the PLP unless they change their approach and actually start to rebuild our country again. I mean, if you look at the foundation of much of what has served Bermuda well for many, many years, it is crumbling. And now with coming through a pandemic and the world very uneasy about the Ukraine war and what's next, we need to make sure that we get back to the basics and rebuild our country again so Bermudians want to live in the country, work in the country, rather than leave the country to go to greener pastures. And that's what we're facing right now. You know, here we are, where immigration is a big part of what's going on in Bermuda, yet the government can't even tell us how many people are leaving the country. I mean, that's a real concern. Here we have healthcare, which is probably one of the most expensive healthcare places in the world, and the government has only talked about it now for the past 4 or 5 years. Healthcare reform is no closer to reality than it was when they came in power in 2017, and they've been talking about it all these time. All of these items are big ticket items that can make Bermudians' lives much easier and much more enjoyable. If you create opportunity, good paying jobs, then Bermudians will be in a better position to take care of their families. If we fix the education system, essentially you wouldn't have to send your children to a private school, which are very expensive, but you get a good education. And we see these trends through the years with education. We see more and more people going to private schools, but we still allow the public school system to falter. Less and less people go into it, but it still costs us a lot of money. But why can't we get together and fix these things rather than argue about them all the time? Because the challenges are real, and how much more can Bermudians put up with? That's not a threat, that's reality. And so politicians, I don't care what party you're in. You know, I'm 64 now. I've been around some time. I'm like my brother right there, Jamal. I'm gonna try to be polite, but I'm gonna tell it like it is. The time for talk is gone. People are not listening to the bull anymore. They're tired of what happens in the House of Assembly because it's back and forth talking and arguing and nothing gets done. So when I canvass, when people talk to me, they want decisions made, and everyone should be heard, not just because you're the government. What's wrong with the government saying, you know, I heard something that Cole Simon said, we're going to do that because that's right. That's the right thing to do. And I'm not going to get involved in the PLP leadership contest. But when Curtis Dickinson said, we need to work together, I said, amen. And I'm willing to work with anybody who wants to make a better Bermuda. But I'm tired of getting caught up in the back and forth, the political fighting, and the smearing because you don't like what somebody says. So let's go after his personality.
Yeah.
Hey, the man in the street who's struggling, a single mother doesn't want to hear that.
Yeah.
They say we're all a bunch of fools. And then you don't get involved in the process and the decision making gets worse.
Yeah. Got a question.
Sorry to be blunt.
No worries. Sam B asking, what does MP Dunkley think about Bermuda's corporate tax rate? Does he think it needs to be increased to help generate more domestic revenue?
That's a very good question. And I am one who always favors a responsible taxation system. And I think that in many areas, the PLP has put in taxes that have hurt the man in the street. But one area I do believe, which we do need to talk to with our colleagues in the international business, is making that tax system there stand up to scrutiny And I do believe that there are opportunities for international business to prosper, but also for Bermuda to raise more taxes to help us deal with the challenges we face.
All righty. Sir, thank you so much for stopping by for the conversation. Just one more. We've got Rick Olson. He's saying biggest challenge is the brain drain, students not returning, and numerous families leaving to survive. One of the questions many journalists have had, and we're not journalists, but we haven't gotten this information either. How many Bermudians, how many people have left the island? Is this something that you know, or is your party working on getting that? Because for some reason, people feel that information is critical. We talk about immigration, but we never talk about migration. Well, do you have any knowledge of what the numbers may be?
No, because they're not recorded anywhere. And you know, if the PLP wants to keep the travel authorization form, which I think should be scrapped along with the fee, there is a case to talk about having forms at the border so we can understand immigration and emigration, because there's none of that taking place at the current time, and it is critically important. 15 years ago, if you would talk about Bermuda, people would say, well, Bermudians want to come back home. The best and the brightest want to come work in Bermuda. But right now they see what's going on and they say, well, maybe I'll try somewhere else first and then see what happens later. That doesn't help us. We need to attract people to come back home, but we do that when we correct the myriad of problems we've talked about it. And we do that when politicians start to become more responsibility, argue less and listen more.
Thank you so much for coming by. Always welcome to have these conversations with you. And please know that we'll probably be chatting to you very soon about more things, because there's always stuff happening of importance, and these conversations with substance with you are appreciated. So thanks so much for the conversation today, sir.
Thank you.
No, thank you guys. And you guys stay healthy. And remember, we can get through this with conversations like this and a real resolve to do something together. We'll be in a better place.
Thank you so much. Talk soon.
Appreciate you guys. Have a great day.
All right, you too. Former Premier of Bermuda, the Honorable Michael Dunkley, thank you so much. Folks, if you appreciated that conversation today, give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. Make sure you share these conversations. We're going to take a quick break, come back, wrap it up, and give you the daily play. Don't go anywhere.
A lot happens around your home. That is why at One Communications, we have introduced affordable security and video monitoring, because everyone should be able to afford to protect their family. Anytime, from anywhere, One Home Security keeps you connected and puts security in your hands with an easy-to-use smartphone app to control everything. Home security is important to keep you and your family safe. Motion-activated cameras around your home and security monitoring within create a complete security system providing protection both inside and outside your home. Professional monitoring means that there's someone on call with 24/7 protection to notify the authorities and help keep you and your loved ones safe. We are dedicated to whole home protection with indoor and outdoor cameras, smart door locks, motion sensors, and more, so you'll always be connected to what matters most. With professional installation, no upfront hardware fees, and low monthly rates, because keeping your family safe should be affordable for everyone. Total home video monitoring and security, there's no better way to protect your home than with One Home Security.
All right. Thanks again to former Premier, the Honorable Michael Dunkley, for stopping by. Like I said, if you appreciated that conversation today, please give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. Make sure you share these conversations with your friends, family, colleagues, anyone who has an interest in getting the best and being part of improving all that is Bermuda and Bermudians. Time for the daily. Thanks again to One Communications, Linda's Marketplace. I'm saying, oh, sorry. Thanks again to One Communications, People's Pharmacy, Lindo's, and Medical House. Sorry. Time for the daily play, brought to you by Heineken 0.0, great taste, no alcohol, and Bermuda Trivia, now available at stores throughout the island. Bermuda Trivia. Follow Bermuda Trivia on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok to find out why it's Bermuda's favorite trivia game. Sancha, are you ready?
Let's go.
All right, folks. I'm sure Bermudians know the answer to this. Sir Edward T. Richards became Bermuda's first official premier by title in what year? What's that?
It's definitely before I had an interest in politics, so it has to be years ago. I don't know.
Google's not fast enough for the audience. Well, no one got it, but the answer was 1973. Official,
so I was off.
yeah, official premier by title. Now, keep in mind, the first government leader was Sir Henry Tucker, but by title, Sir Edward T. Richards was the first official premier.
1973, you said?
April 18th of 1973. Back in Sheriff's Day. Any final thoughts on this morning's discussion about people struggling, and then Mr. Dunkley?
As I said, I do not know the answer to that question, and I do not have the only advice I feel like after our conversation that we came up with is maybe teach finances earlier at a younger age, so as we get older, we're understanding, we know how to budget. We're educated in it. So that's one way. Other than that, the situations that we're in now, I don't know. I do not have the answer to it. And it's something that we should continue to discuss. Former Premier Dunkley, this conversation this morning, I know politics can get heavy, but this conversation this morning actually felt lighter to me. It felt like a breath of fresh air. It felt like someone that was coming to talk to us, that can speak to us in layman terms, to let us know what's been going on. For people that don't like to keep up with politics and what's going on, for him to speak about arbitrate and what happened and how it happened, and just give us a understanding in layman terms. And then him having been in business for years, understanding policies and what needs to happen and taxes, and it felt lighter. And
Yeah,
I definitely appreciated it.
Yeah. As far as the discussion, I'll say this much. We don't have the answers, folks. I always say, we're here to, engage and drive discussions on things. I don't think any, good person wants to see another person struggle. What are the answers? How can we offer assistance or advice? I think the more we discuss it, the closer we will come to solutions. As far as Mr. Dunkley, what I will say, and he like Ewart Brown, Dr. Ewart Brown, former Premier of Bermuda, former Premier Paula Cox, they will all tell you, even current Premier David Burt, they all got the same treatment from me, because I want what's best for Bermuda. I do, believe it or not, I actually do want what's best for Bermuda. And the reason I want what's best for Bermuda is because I love Bermudian people. Like, that's where all my family is. It's where we operate a business. This is who we talk to every morning. So my hope is that people stop shutting out or shutting down people who they don't agree with politically, and really just open themselves up to conversations. At the end of the day, we've had people on this show I legit do not like. Yeah, I do not like certain people. People who have done crazy things to me as the individual. But this show is not about me. It's bigger than that. And my hope is that people understand it's not about a political party. It's about Bermuda and Bermudians. It's bigger than people's personalities and how you feel about others. So hopefully you all got something out of that conversation. Sanchi, you've got some daily inspiration for us?
I do. So education is an admirable thing, but it is well to remember from time to time that nothing that is worth knowing can be taught. That's by Oscar Wilde.
All right. Thanks so much for that. Appreciate it. Thanks again to our partners, Medical Hours, One Communications, Lenders, and People's Pharmacy, for ensuring that we're able to do this with you on a daily basis. As always, we appreciate you, we love you, and we thank you for making us part of your daily routine. If all goes well, we'll be back to do this again with you tomorrow. She's Sancha Durham. I'm Jamel Hartman. My friends, please make it a safe and a great day. We're out. Peace.